तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
Hari Om, everybody. We are truly sorry for what happened last time. It was due to a worldwide Zoom issue. I was told that we could not have a session. On behalf of the temple management and Chinmaya mission and everybody associated, everybody worked hard to restore it, but we could not. We apologize for any inconvenience that might have caused. So we'll do a small Nama Sankirtanam to start with. Krishna Krishna Mukunda Janardana, Krishna Govinda Narayana Hare, Krishna Krishna Mukunda Janardana, Krishna Govinda Narayana Hare, Achyutananda Govinda Madhava, Achyutananda Govinda Madhava, Sachidananda Narayana Hare, Sachidananda Narayana Hare, Krishna Krishna Mukunda Janardana, Krishna Govinda Narayana Hare, Krishna Govinda Narayana Hare, Krishna Govinda Narayana Hare. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki Jai. Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Vagishadya Sumanasaha Sarvartanam Upakrame Yam Natva Kritakritya Syuhu Tam Namami Gajananam. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupine. Vidyarambham karishyami Siddhir bhavatu me sada. Guru Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam ततो जयमुदीरयेत् व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारम् शक्तेः पौत्रमकल्मषम् पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिम् व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिम् द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि, सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिता भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्न पारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोपला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तक केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा संबोधना बोधितम्। लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे Paramananda Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutah Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sanga Padakramo Panishadaihi Gayantiyam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyantiyam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidussura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Samasta jana kalyane Niratam karunamayam Namami chinmayam devam Sadgurum brahma vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Yasya Sannidhi Matrena Sarve Shishyascha Sevakaha Karma Kshetre Pravartante Chinmayam Tam Namamyaham Chinmayam Tam Namamyaham Chinmayam Tam Namamyaham. Hari Om, everybody. In the first few minutes, I'm going to address a few questions that were received in the last week. Some of them asked, you made a lot of reference of Upanishads and Vedas as pramanas. We would like to know a little brief summary of that and so on. How many Upanishads are there and so on. So what I have done is I have consolidated some of the responses that I'm going to share. First of all, Vedas are our source book and Upanishads are our pramana. It is fundamentally divided into three portions: the Karma Kanda, the Upasana Kanda, and the Gnana Kanda portions, because as human beings, we have three types of problems. The impurities of the mind, like raga and dvesha, the like and the dislikes, we call it mala in Vedanta. We have agitations of the mind called vikshepa and ignorance of the self called avarana. In fact, ignorance of the self, that avidya, is the root cause of the other two problems. A high-level summary is that karma and upasana focuses on the ritualistic portions of the Vedas. Karma Kanda portion of the Veda gives us chitta shuddhi, or purity of mind. And also, single-pointedness, chitta ekagrata, is achieved through upasana portion of the Vedas, japa, tapa, etc. We move to the Gnana portion of the Vedas, which talks mainly about the subject matter of the third portion of the Vedas. They are also called as Vedanta or Upanishads. Self-knowledge is the subject matter. Jiva, Brahma, Aikya. That is what is talked about. Veda plus Anta, literally translated, means the concluding portion of the Vedas. But we need to remember it refers to the end goal indicated by the Vedas, not the end portion. The oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma. Vede siddhyati siddhanta iti Vedanta. The philosophical conclusions arrived at by and in the Vedas, they are also called as Upanishads. Upa plus ni plus shad is Upanishad. Upa means near. Ni means with nischayena, with firm determination. One sits at the teacher's feet. Why sit at the teacher's feet? Just like water flows naturally and effortlessly from a higher to the lower than in the other direction, sitting at the feet of the teacher is symbolic so that the student is looking up to the teacher with respect and reverence. Then Upa plus Ni plus Shad is also Upanishad. There are two other meanings. I will not get into the details of those. Someday when we do Upanishads, we will do that as an introduction. Is to destroy Gati or to Visharana and to lead. Therefore, the purpose of Upanishad is Ajnana Nasha or Avidya Nivrutti. Then somebody asks, how many Upanishads are there? There are 1,179 Upanishads. 21 of them are found in Rig Veda, 108 of them in Yajur Veda, 1,000 of them, the largest, found in Sama Veda, 50 of them in Atharvana Veda. Traditionally, 108 Upanishads are considered authoritative or important. Of these, 10 are considered as major Upanishads, not because the subject matter is major or minor. In all the Upanishads in the Vedas, the knowledge taught is the same, the knowledge of the self. Adi Shankaracharya ji has taken time to write the commentaries, the Bhashyas, on 10 major Upanishads. They are Aitariya, Kena, Bruhadaranyaka, Mundaka, Chandogya, Mandukya, Ishavasya, Prashna, Katha, and Taittiriya Upanishad. These are the 10 major Upanishads. Now, let us get back to our main topic on the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So the key takeaways from last week were, not last week, the week before, we looked at there are many Gitas. We looked at the glory of Bhagavad Gita as a Upanishad. That's where a lot of these questions came about. We looked at Yoga Shastra, Gita as Yoga Shastra. We looked at it as a Dharma Grantha. We looked at it as Pramana Grantha. We looked at it as Adhyatma Grantha, Bhautika Grantha, and we also looked at the place for that in it in Prasthanatrayi. We looked at the background of Mahabharata war as an inner war within ourselves. And we looked at Gita as a Marga Darshaka Grantha, a book of guidance as to how to face the situations in life. Gita Mata kills Mohasura, the cause for our delusion, Moha. We also looked at how Arjuna accepted that he had a problem and surrendered completely and unconditionally to Bhagavan Krishna. And he told Bhagavan, Karishye Vachanam Tava, I shall do as you say. We understood last week that what you become depends on you and not the situation. It was very clear from our analysis. So now the critical moment for Arjuna had come. You know, we do what if scenarios in life, lot of what if scenarios in terms of scenario planning, etc. Knowledge and understanding of the situation is much different than being actually in it. In fact, the fear of failure brings an onslaught of nervousness in everybody. In fact, Arjuna expresses this in 2-6. Nachaitad vidmah kataranno gariyah yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyuhu yaneva hatva na jijivishamah teva sthita pramukhe dhartarashtraha. From the second chapter, 6th shloka. Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to think. You know, in our childhood, we are usually taught how to talk, how to walk, how to eat, table manners, etc. In school, we are taught how to read, how to write, and even compute at a very young age. But we don't learn how to think. You know, wrong eating habits take a long time to change. So imagine wrong thinking habits, how long it would take. It is more important what to think than how to think. Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to think, because what you think is what you become. Just like you view a painting from a short distance, you don't see the big picture. Similarly, in life, you need to have a holistic vision. So Bhagavan Krishna teaches Arjuna how to think, and from what standpoint he should look at this war. He also gives him a lesson in grief management to begin with. A lot of people ask if Lord Krishna instigated a war. The simple answer is no. Remember, Arjuna was all prepared. He went to the battlefield as a soldier to fight the war. He was very clear about his identity. Then he got confused about his duty. Dharma sammudha chetaha. How can I fight my own grandfather? How can I fight my own teacher? So this confusion stems from moha, delusion, leading on to shoka, grief, and fear, bhaya. He was a kshatriya. His duty was to fight. He had chosen dharma. Whereas Kauravas, on the other hand, had chosen to follow adharma. So Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight adharma. If Bhagavan was teaching a student, he would have asked him to go study. So Gita's message here is active resistance to evil, both within and without. You know, grief is a very powerful mechanism to heal. It leads to a new perspective, a new worldview. It is the foundation for clarity in thinking. So we have already looked at the Upakrama Shloka a couple of weeks ago when we started. It begins not with all of the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, but when he approaches Bhagavan Krishna unconditionally in the second chapter, 7th shloka. Karpanya doshopahata svabhavaha pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yashreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham shadhi mam tvam prapannam. Shishyasteham shadhi mam tvam prapannam. I consider you as my guru. Take me as your disciple. A disciple is one who is subject to discipline. Shadhi mam, please teach me. Prapannam, I take refuge in you. Aham is madhu. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. We love ourselves the most. The one who destroys that aham bhava is Madhusudana, who destroys all our bondage. And at the end, Bhagavan Krishna asks him, did you listen to me in 18-72 and 73, 18th chapter? Like our Puja Guruji says, did you listen to me attentively or tentatively? And Arjuna says, Nashto moha smrutir labdha tat prasadatmayachyuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. Karishye vachanam tava. I will do as you say. We saw Arjuna admitted that he has a problem. We call this as Guru Upasatti in Vedanta. He has approached the teacher. In this case, the student is asking that I am deluded, I have moha, because of which there is shoka and fear of bhaya and other emotional byproducts. He is ignorant of his true nature. So Bhagavan gives him the highest knowledge to dispel this ignorance. Avidya Nivritti is the theme of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan gave him Atma Gnana. Bhagavan gave him Tattva Gnana. So Arjuna's problem is a universal problem. A lot of times we see this even in our jobs. What is your RAA, we say? Roles, accountability, and authority, if any. You're given a designation. You're a manager, you're a supervisor, and if it is not defined properly, then there would be confusion about your responsibility. The cause is most of the time confusion. It is sorrow for us and sorrow for others also. But at a much deeper level, we are ignorant of our true identity as to, am I this perishing body? Am I this transmigrating soul? From this confusion, there are confusion about our goals in life. Most of us wonder, despite having everything in life, why am I restless? Why am I unhappy? This we call as Paristhiti-vadi. I have changed objects in my life. I go on a vacation to make myself happy. I change my job from one place to the other. I change desha. I wait for better times to come, kala. But the root cause of my problem is my ignorance of my true nature that remains unaddressed. The lesson from Bhagavan Krishna here is how to deal with grief. He tells him, do not grieve, as there is no valid reason for you to grieve, thus giving him a lesson on grief management. So Bhagavan Krishna starts his teaching in second chapter 2-11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Pragnavadamscha bhashase Gatasu nagatasunscha Nanushocanti panditaha. Hey Arjuna, you grieve for those who should not be grieved. You think you are wise, but you are otherwise. The wise never grieve for the dead. And this shloka culminates in 18 chapter 66 shloka, 18-66. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Some acharyas analyze Bhagavad Gita and say, this is the Upakrama and Upasamhara shloka from a teaching standpoint. He's saying, you give up all dharma, take refuge in me, surrender to me, I will grant you liberation. Now let us examine this a little further. Grief. What it does is it obstructs thinking as to how to act in life. Bhagavan gives him this highest knowledge, Atma Gnana. So Gita assures that I am that pure Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa Atma, which is birthless and deathless. It undergoes no modifications like the body. It is deathless in all bodies. In fact, 2-13 says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra na muhyati. And continues and gives him Nitya Anitya Viveka also in 2-16. Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drushtontaha, tvanayostattvadarshibhihi. It is real. This Atma is changeless, never becomes non-existent. And then a direct quote of Gita from Kathopanishad itself. It cannot be killed as a subject. It cannot be killed as an object. It cannot prompt killing. It is a witness, not the doer of action. Ya enam vetti hantaram, yaschainam manyate hatam, vubhau tau na vijanitaha, nayam hanti na hanyate. And then he goes on, Bhagavan, to give him highest gnana, Atma Gnana, tells him this Atma is indestructible. It cannot be destroyed by weapons. It cannot be blown by air. It cannot be burnt by fire. It cannot be wetted by water. Nainam chandanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantyapah, na shoshayati marutah. And then he says, najayate mriyate va kadachit, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah. Ajo nityah shashvato yam puranah, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. He comes down one level. It is the body that is changing, but Atma is a changeless substratum. Since the real never perishes, why are you grieving, Arjuna? And he says, Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyokta sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmad yudyasva bharata. Here what Bhagavan Krishna is doing, that he has given him the knowledge from the highest standpoint. Then he says, even if you consider yourself as Jiva, then there is no need to grieve. This Jiva keeps changing the body like somebody changes old clothes. Thus driving the point that this embodiment is transitory. This shloka also, a lot of people say, provides the basis for rebirth, punarjanma, in our Shastra, based on the fallacy of effect without cause in Vedanta. We also say a lot of other things called akruta abhyagama dosha. Like, for example, you see a 2-year-old child who cannot read a word, but reciting Gita fluently. And the other logical fallacy we talk about in Vedanta is Krita Vipranasha Dosha. Like some people, they're performing actions throughout their life, good action, but not getting any result at all throughout their life. So Bhagavan Krishna is saying, why are you grieving? They change Jiva changes this body continuously. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grunani naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. So Bhagavan comes down one more notch and tells him, who is grieving? Who is grieving? It is the mind that grieves, arising out of contact with objects in the external world. In 2-14, he says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkadaha, agama payino nityaha, tam stitikshasva bharata. Bhagavan tells him these joys and sorrows have an arrival and a departure. Agama apayi. So Gita is teaching us that all sorrows have a beginning and an end. Adi and an anta. So even during this crisis, it is teaching us to smile through it. Samadukha sukham dhiram somrutattvaya kalpate. 2-15. Mind is elated when it is happy and down when it is unhappy. Ubhayorapi drushtontah tvanayostattvadarshibhihi. Bhagavan is telling in terms of grief management to develop titiksha. In Vivek Chudamani, a premier text from Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji says, Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparahitam satitiksha nigadyate. What you cannot cure, you have to endure. Cheerful acceptance and enduring it without lamenting is that forbearance that we need to develop. Like they say, this too shall pass. Don't worry, even the current situation we are in will pass. Then Bhagavan comes down one more notch, gives him advice from a worldly perspective. In 2-31 and 32, Swadharmamapi cha vekshya navikampitum arhasi dharmyadhi yuddha shreyonyate kshatriyasya na vidyate yadruchaya chopapannam swargadvaram apavrutam sukina kshatriyah partha labhante yuddhamidrusham. Arjuna, you're a kshatriya. Do your duty as a kshatriya. So in summary, what Bhagavan is telling him here is, Arjuna, your grief is unjustified. From whatever standpoint you look at, you're grieving over things that are perishable, anitya, etc. The knowledge, this self-knowledge is the apurvata or the novelty of Bhagavad Gita. So nanu shochanti panditaha, this wise people, they do not grieve, Arjuna. Not to hold on to sorrow is a sign of wisdom. So from a highest standpoint, he has given him Atma Gnana. Now, let us move on to the most often quoted and sometimes misquoted shloka in Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma pala heturbuhu ma te sangotsva karmani. It has one of the most powerful messages of Gita. You have a choice in action and not the result. Also, it is important to note that we should not get attached to inaction also. Alasyam hi manushyasya maharipuhu. This is the secret Bhagavan is giving, how to turn karma to karma yoga. It is that win-win attitude that counts. Doing karma with the right attitude. What does it do? It prepares us for the highest truth. That is turning karma to karma yoga. In Upadeshasara, a text from Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, he says, Ishwararpitam nechaya krutam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Three main features or points how you can turn karma to karma yoga is kartavya karmas. Our obligatory duties must be done dedicated to the Lord. This is a secret technique to divinize your actions. It is called as arpita buddhi. Then performance as worship of Lord, dasya buddhi. And all karma pala to be accepted as prasada buddhi. Whatever comes, good or bad. While also we should learn to recognize Lord as karmadhyaksha. He is the presiding deity while working, and recognize him as karma paladata while receiving. And then this type of attitude is dexterity in action. 2-50. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Our Puja Gurudev, Swami Chinmayanandji used to say, maximum output with minimum time. However, all efficient actions are not karma yoga. When you bring Ishwararpita buddhi, you accept results as is prasada, then you have turned karma to karma yoga. What it does, that is kushalata, that is dexterity in action. Talking of kushalata, one time somebody asked, hey, how do you manage to commit so many mistakes in a day? He said, I get up very early. Now, jokes apart, some of us are very feverishly active. Some are hyperactive. Some are workaholics, ambitious go-getters. Most of the times, why are actions performed? Why do we do karma? We do in order to gain wealth. We do in order to gain fame, recognition, appreciation, and so on. While working, we are tensed. While we are waiting for the results, we are stressed. When we receive the results, either we are elated if the results meet our expectations, otherwise not. In short, we are agitated throughout the process. So what happens? We need to de-stress frequently. How do we do that on a daily basis? We take constant tea or coffee breaks, annual vacations to de-stress. So what is Bhagavad Gita teaching us? The lesson from Bhagavad Gita is Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Second chapter, 48th shloka. Perform all your work without attachment to the external result. Be balanced in success and failure. You face success with humility and failure with dignity. This evenness of mind is called yoga. You will be able to achieve this by doing all actions as gift to God and accepting as all results as gift from God. With this evenness of mind, You will learn from both success and failure and develop internally. This is the secret of action, performing your action. This equipoise in action and its result is that yoga. Yoga means yuj. Yuj dhatu means to yoke for the higher ideal. Our Puja Gurudev used to say, do your best and leave the rest. Now, to the most important shloka, how to live in this world without being touched by sorrow. This is also known as Ekashloki of Bhagavad Gita. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyah sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate. There are 5 stages of that development. 1, doing right actions as offering to God. Accept the results as gift from God. Number 2, becoming free from raga and dvesha, likes and dislikes, and their effects like greed, anger, jealousy, and arrogance. Number 3, controlling your mind by not perpetuating unwanted thoughts and by entertaining only good thoughts. Subduing your senses, control of senses, by removing all value attached enjoyment of sense objects. And number 5, gaining the right understanding by which you see your own self in all beings and all beings in your own self. What it does with the above, even if you work in this world with this kind of an attitude, you will not get tainted. Na lipyate. Now, Bhagavad Gita also talks about the famous ladder of fall. You know, when you roll down a ball from the stair, the first step, it falls gently. And then it jumps down the next step. So rapidly, gathers a lot of momentum and goes with higher speed and longer leaps. So it is important during our journey that we need to catch this fall early and recover from it. Dhyayato vishayan pumsah sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bijayate krodhat bhavati sammohah sammohat smriti vibramah smriti bramshat buddhinashah buddhinashat pranashyati. Brooding on an object causes attachment. From attachment, it gives rise to desire, and you strengthen to enjoy more and more. More and more desire causes more and more agitation. If it meets my expectation temporarily, I am happy. If it does not meet my expectation, it causes sadness. If it does not meet my expectation consistently, then I am frustrated. Frustration leads to anger. Anger leads to delusion. Smriti vibramaha, smriti bramshat, buddhi nashaha. You lose your objective thinking ability, which leads to pranashyati. So in short, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha pranashyati. How do you prevent this fall? Bhagavad Gita, then we find the answer in Bhaja Govindam. By staying firm in our true nature, not brooding over objects constantly, by reducing non-conducive desires. But the best solution, we'll recite the Bhaja Govindam, Satsangatve Nissangatvam. By association with good people, you get non-attachment. Nissangatve nirmohatvam. Nissangatve. By detaching, you become free from delusion. Nirmohatve nischala tattvaha. And from delusion, you get closer to reality, free from delusion. Nischala tattve jivan muktihi. The liberation is achieved once you are free from delusion. That is the path from bandha to buddha. Okay, next. Now he is telling him, hey Arjuna, I am giving you a secret, rahasyam. You know, whenever you tell somebody that you have a secret, what happens? They become automatically attentive. I don't know what is with that word. Everybody wants to know it. Secret is something only a few people know it. If a lot of people know it, then it becomes like an open secret. So that is why Bhagavan uses the word idam tute guhyatamam. Guhyatara is secret. Guhyatamam is top secret. So even in 15th chapter, Bhagavan says, iti guhyatamam shastram, telling Arjuna that this Atma Vidya that I have given you is very special. That is the Apurvata of Bhagavad Gita. He says, Saye vayam maya tedya yoga proktah puratanaha bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hyetaduttamam. In 4th chapter, he explains the parampara, how it has come. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivaswan manave praha manu rikshvakave bravi. Like that, he goes on and tells him this is the secret. Then, what is the palam? If you get this knowledge, vihaya kaman yes sarvan, 2nd chapter 71 and 72. Vihaya kaman yes sarvan pumanscharati nispruhaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantim adhigacchati. Esha brahmi stitih partha nainam prapya vimuhyati stitva syamanta kalepi brahma nirvana mruchati. If you get this knowledge, Bhagavan is saying, you will become nirmamaha, nirahankaraha. What you will do is, you will realize that ego is not my amigo. I have to let it go. Nirmama, you would turn that mamata to samata. There is no craving anymore for desire. Nispruhaha. You will understand that Esha Brahmi Stitih Partha. If you get this self-knowledge, you will not get deluded again. You will get that clarity which is free from delusion. There won't be any incompleteness in our lives. He says, Yagnatva na punar moham evam yasyasi pandava. So from mamata to samata to purnata. Knowing this knowledge, yadnatva, there is nothing more to know. This is the glory of self-knowledge. And then Bhagavan says in 2-55, Bhagavan uvacha prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha stita pragnastadochyate. How does he live after getting this Atma Gnana? He goes on explaining the Sthita Prajna Lakshana in the second chapter. It is like the case on ego is closed for good. The doership is gone. And that Gnanam is the most purifying Gnanam. Nahi Gnanena Sadrusham Pavitramiha Vidyate Tatsvayam Yoga Samsiddha Kaledatmani Vindati. This is the Gnanopadesha, which is Gita's essence. So, in the last few minutes, if you have any questions, you can always address them in your WhatsApp group or chat group and so on. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get it through the Facebook that is being also streamed, but you can use our WhatsApp group to communicate if you have any questions. So the key takeaways for today is all actions that we do in life. Why do we do it? It is for happiness. Happiness. I want to be happy. The ultimate goal of all karma is for happiness. All of us, we want permanent happiness. That is why every being in this creation is in that state of agitation, that until it reaches its natural state. Like water to ice, from boiling to cooling, it just wants to get back to its natural state. That's why we are also agitated, because our shastras say, hey, your natural state is of Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, existence, consciousness, bliss. Whatever happiness we are seeking outside, it will be temporary. But this journey that we are undertaking is not outside. This journey is inside. Like an old proverb, even if you are standing in front of the Himalayas and looking in the other direction, you will not be able to see the giant mountain. This knowledge is like Swakanta Bharanam Yata. You know, there was this young lady who was newly married, thought she had lost her necklace. In her sleep, the necklace had gone back to her neck, and she was searching all over for that. Later, she discovered that it was right there on her neck. This is what we call in Vedanta as praptasya praptihi. There is nothing you need to do to attain. You're already that. You are that moksha swarupa. That is what Bhagavan has done, and that was the essence of today's lecture, today's our analysis. Okay. Now, like I said, if you have any questions, you can communicate it to the organizers through this thing, and it will all be addressed in the as a summary in the next session. Om swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaah gobrahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah pruthivi sasyashalini desho yam kshobarahitah brahmana santu nirbhayaah sarvesham swastir bhavatu sarvesham purnam bhavatu sarvesham mangalam bhavatu sarve bhavantu sukhinah सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Thank you everyone. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Please log in from the convenience of your home. And if you feel that anybody else would benefit from this study, please tell them and forward them the link and so on. Thank you very much. Hari Om.